Okay. Here we are. We are live on episode 7 of the God Standard podcast. Sorry for the delay. We are not live on Instagram today, unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, but we are on Facebook and we are on YouTube for your watching experience. So I'm your host, Ebony, Sister Ebony X, and like I said, this is the God Standard podcast, and this is what we do on sorry, I'm getting feedback. Sorry, on the God Standard podcast, our aim is to teach and inspire the original people of the planet by giving them light and life through conversations with regular people just like you who have used the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad to become gods in their own respective lane in their lives and have been able to touch their community and the people around them. Today we have an exciting guest and I'm excited to hear his story, Brother Marcus Muhammad. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, man. All praise due to Allah. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so I'm gonna get right into your bio for the audience that doesn't know who you are. Let's get to know you a little bit before we jump into this session here. So, Marcus Muhammad is an author, transformative speaker, life insurance professional, and student of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Marcus was diagnosed as HIV positive at birth. He is married with children who do not have the disease. Despite living with HIV, Marcus has always had the desire to help others globally to overcome various afflictions and hardships. The example of the most honorable the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has inspired him throughout his life. He is committed to sharing his story to end the stigma of HIV, raise awareness, teach the power of overcoming, and promote the power of healing. Marcus firmly believes that HIV can be cured through faith in Allah, God, proper nutrition, and having the right mindset. Wow. So, welcome once again. Is there anything else that you wanted to share in addition to that with our audience?
No, I think you hit everything right on the nail. Yes, ma'am. And I heard you say under the guidance of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and then you said the honorable Louis Farrakhan, and we know they're one and the same because
Exactly,
you're looking at the minister and you're listening to the minister. You know, he is a reflection of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. So all praise due to Allah.
Absolutely,
I think you hit everything on the nail. I can't think of anything else I could add.
Yes, sir. Well, praise be to Allah. And just for our listening audience, watching audience, please feel free to, um, ask questions in the chat, comment in the chat, interact with us and let us know what you're thinking and, what you're feeling, what you want to hear from our guest today. Okay. So I'm just going to jump right in. So, of course, we know you are a follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the guidance of the Minister Louis Farrakhan. Can you tell me or tell us a little bit about like how you came into the Nation of Islam?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I actually was, some would say born into it, but technically I would say I was adopted into it because I was actually adopted around 7 months. So I guess you could kind of consider that I was born into it because it's really all of what I could remember. But my mother and my father, they were the ones that actually reverted to Islam. I say reverted because, we believe, as followers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that our nature is Islam and our nature is righteousness, peace, submission to the will of God. And so when we can't say convert because we're just reverting to that which we already were. We just had lost of knowledge of ourselves. But I would say I was about 18 or 19 when I really started to study it more. And as we go through the process in order orientation class, we have something where we we write our letter, and basically, we're writing our letter, basically, writing in our submission to Almighty God Allah. And so that happened when I was 18, but it was really through the guidance and inspiration from my mother and my father through the years of growing up. And then when I was about 18 or 19, was when I chose it for myself. Because, when you're a child, you live it by, basically, in your household, but you got to get to a certain point where then now you have to accept it for yourself. And I think at that point I was about 18 or 19 when I did that, which was about 12 or 13 years ago.
Praise be to Allah. That is really really interesting. I never heard of anybody like getting adopted in. That's like I feel like that's divine intervention for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So can you speak about what has been your biggest challenge as well as triumph being in the nation and like growing
Um,
up in the nation?
well, I think for me, like, I think for me, I had a lot of challenges, still do. But I think one of the things is, like, for example, even to this day, but even so more before I shared my story was, trying to fulfill my life the way I desire to fulfill it, be a really good servant to Almighty God Allah without allowing HIV to hold me back. So it's like, when am I pushing myself too hard? When am I not pushing myself hard enough?
Mhm.
Am I getting enough rest? Am I doing all the things that Allah wants me to do?
Right.
But am I pushing myself too hard to the point to where it'll hurt my health to a certain extent? So it's like, because as a you know, uh, follower of the Honorable Mental Farrakhan, men and women, we have a duty to, help our people, and that comes in
Right.
very different ways. And so, when you really love this work, you really are passionate about it. And so it's like, how can you balance your passion with the drive without, when you have a health affliction? And so that was it for me. And then also just finding my place as a young when I was coming into the nation. I was a teenager, so
Right.
learning how to be a young man. I'm learning my place, I'm learning my purpose, and then I got this affliction I'm dealing with nobody knows about, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's like sometimes I somewhat felt out of place. Even though I was in place, I felt out of place because it was like I felt a
Right.
little somewhat alienated because I know I'm in the right place, but we all have our struggles, and everybody's struggle. And the Quran says everybody's burden is made for them, and no one can carry another person's burden.
Right.
And so here I am with this burden. I'm like, nobody knows what I'm going through. So it's
Right.
like, how do I really express myself in the fullest capacity and do what Allah desires me to do without hindering myself or hurting myself? You see what I'm saying? And then
Right.
also, like I said, the other challenge was just finding my purpose in all this because, in the Nation of Islam, I believe, we're taught that we're gods.
Right.
Every black man and woman, really every human being is a god. But, we know the Aboriginal family are the black men and black women, the
Right.
melanated, individuals. And so that, I feel like that you got kind of, it sets it up to a high podium, you know what I mean? A
Right.
high standard, the God standard.
God
You see what I'm
standard.
saying? Now you got to hold yourself up to the God standard. It's like, well, man, I don't want to be mediocre.
Right.
I
Right. Right.
want to be above. And the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan said, and I don't want to misquote him, but he just, paraphrasing, he said that you can't just be, above average. You got to be basically supernatural.
Right.
You can't just be natural. You got to be supernatural in this world
Right.
that we live in. So for me, it was like, well, how do I be supernatural as, a young or a young, they say African American, but we say young black man or original man in America, trying to live the life that God put me here to do, but also trying to overcome this disease. Because even though, people see all the beauty I strive, or light that I strive to light let
Right.
out to the world, but there are challenges that come with it. So it's like, how do I do that with balance in my life to live the life that I desire to live? You see what I'm saying? So those were some of the biggest challenges I think as a, as a brother in the Nation of Islam.
Right. 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 Wow. It's like it's almost like coming you like you it's almost like you had to come into yourself, like become yourself in many different ways. Like than the average person almost has to like figure it out kind of thing. Like you had added you know added factors if you will, right?
Um,
Yeah, so yeah, that's a really good explanation. So can you okay, so like we all know that there's a stigma associated with HIV, right? um but then you also like wrote a book and like this is like your life and you inspire people and share your story. So like what what was it like to come into, I guess, agreement with you sharing the story and you like overcoming that stigma and like what other people would think or those kinds of things? Like what really pushed you to that?
it's really unique because I remember as a young child when I was probably about 6, 7, 8 years old, I had a desire to be a doctor. So I'm not a doctor. I work as an entrepreneur. My daughter, she says, "You're a doctor, Daddy. You are a doctor." And I'm like, I guess in one sense, spiritually, I could,
Right.
I'm a student. I'm not really a doctor. I'm a student helping a doctor. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Right.
But that was my passion. I always wanted to be in some kind of medical profession to really help and heal individuals. And it's probably because I spent so much time at the doctors when I was a child. But I also had the desire, like I used to visualize myself speaking in front of large crowds and sharing my story because
Right.
when I learned of what I was experiencing and what I was going through, I immediately thought, well, I'm not the only one that was born with HIV, or I'm not the only one that is experiencing what I'm experiencing. So maybe one day I can help other people by, and I thought of writing a book.
Right.
I could change the world writing a book. How you're an 8, 9 year old child, and when you think things when you're a child, you think things on a very um, large level. You see,
Right.
um, and when you get older, sometimes that dims down. And so those are my thoughts: sharing my story, helping people, healing people.
Right.
As I grew older, that desire, it kind of faded away, but it was still deep inside of me. And
Mm.
so when my wife and I were courting Shakura, I told her, look, hey, look, when we sat down and had a conversation, I was like, look, I do one day want to tell the world this, and I said, I want to do it though when I'm healed, because I said, I want to show individuals the power of healing. But then as time went on, I was like, man, I still believe to this day I'm gonna be healed, but I said, I don't know when that's going to be. It could be a year from now, it could be a decade, it could be 20 or 30 years. I don't know.
Right.
Inshallah, it's before then. But I thought individuals may need my help now. And so my wife and I was blessed to actually meet the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I think something in that meeting, after that meeting, was like Allah really put on my heart. Like I had this burning desire at that point, like it's time, it's time, it's time. And I was like, Allah, what are you doing? And Allah kept
Mm.
showing me signs.
Right.
And I was going to speaking conferences because I love speaking. And I was like, I don't really have I was like, I have a story, but I was like, I talked to one person, like, I have a story, but my story is not complete yet. So your story is always going to be unfolding, but doesn't mean you hold back your story. You need
Right.
to share your
Right.
story to help other people. And I was like, man, Allah was showing me different signs. So I was like, okay. So I never really, I was concerned about what individuals would think, but for me, it was more so, it was bigger than personally me. It was more so, um,
Right.
someone has to enlighten other individuals. And I knew that there was a stigma when it came to HIV and AIDS, but I didn't know how bad the stigma was until,
Right. Right.
like, even to this day, like, it's like every video I share, Allah reveals to me more and more and more
Wow.
how ignorant, I don't want to just say our people, just the world is
Right. Right. Right.
when it comes to HIV. And some are ignorant and they not in a negative way, they just don't know. And some are so ignorant to where they just get nasty when they get ignorant. You know what I mean? So
Right. Right. Right.
ignorant on a negative side. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you have two different sides, and of course, there are people say things that sometimes they may get under my skin. But I got thick skin. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's a thick spirit. So it's really hard to make me upset because I believe that Allah is using me for a particular purpose. So I'm not going to allow somebody's misunderstanding of a stigma,
Right.
right? Or somebody, people are always going to, like, someone posted a comment on one of my comments and said, man, brother, you're inspiring the world. I feel like no matter what you can post today, everybody always going to find something to be negative about or upset about. I said, yeah, I could literally post a picture about a sunlight and people would find if it went viral, somebody going to have something to say. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Right.
so I think for me, it was just understanding that no matter what somebody does, there's always going to be some negative factor that's attached to it. And that's just part of the difficulty factor, in which
Right.
we know in the Quran, after difficulty comes ease.
Right.
Even those that live the most perfect lives, there will be some kind of pushback that they will receive. And, I was one song I used to listen to, and the guy said, even Jesus had haters. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? And so no matter what we're doing or what kind of goal we're on, we got to understand that, whether it's a stigma or whether there's some pushback or negativity somewhere, there's always going to be some kind of difficulty that you're going to face back. So for me, it was just like, understand that, of course, it's not easy when you're going through it, but it's just like, it's bigger. That's the reason to do it, is because of the ignorance. And so,
Right. Right.
and then I thought about, of course, I didn't want to embarrass my wife and things like that, and my children. So I thought about how people look at her, you know what I mean, and my children and my mother, my parents, people that knew me their whole life was like,
Right.
man, I never knew this about you. Like,
Right.
some people felt some kind of way to some extent. He was like, man, why you didn't tell me for? You
Right.
know? And I was like, well, it ain't something that I wanted to broadcast before it was time, you know. And so those that were really close to me, I actually had to sit down with some of them. I was like, look, I got something I'm going to share with you because I don't
Mm.
want you to find out on social media.
Right, right, right.
I did have that conversation with those that are really close to me. So that was just, it was just I think Allah had built it up for me. Like it was something that I thought about through the years. And that's why I tell people it wasn't something that I woke up to one day. It was like, you know what, babe, I'm sharing my story. It was like
Yeah.
years of things that were on my mind that I think that Allah was preparing me for, you know. And so all praise to Allah. And at the right time, the circumstances of meeting the minister and different things I was doing in my life and different events
Right.
that were, situation that was we were experiencing, I think brought about the desire to now say this is the time, which was I think now we're looking at 6 years ago.
Okay. Wow. Praise be to Allah. That's really insightful, and it's interesting to see how like Allah set that up to be gradual, like as you're explaining, because I could only imagine the extent of like pressure that it would be if you did wake up one day and say, "Hey, I'm gonna do it," and you didn't have the like the cooking and simmering process of like coming to terms with different things, kind of. So I think that was a great thing. So could you speak about like what was it like marriage wise, right? Like how has it impacted your marriage, even in like just telling the story, like just sharing your story.
Well, I think man, I think well, first of all, I think I already got a lot from my beautiful wife,
Yes, sir.
strong woman, compassionate woman, you know, for even accepting, you know, me on this journey, you know. I think that I think it's made me stronger, you know what I mean? And even my wife, because, you know, we get to you know, we're really because it's not really just my journey no more. It was my journey, but then when I met her, you know, and we formed this union that we're, you know, now striving to be one under with the law, one with each other with the law. Is now we're on a whole nother journey that's like this is like another journey within a journey. So now this is like not just my story no more, it's our story, it's me and my wife's
Right.
story because now um, you know, because of her being, you know, we're in this relationship and because of her, you know, we have children now that don't have the disease. And now we're showing other individuals, hey, we're striving our best to live not just a normal life,
Right.
but a above average life, you
Right.
know, by being students of the Most High Elijah Muhammad, you know, honorable mental Farrakhan. And so I think it's just, there's been challenges, of course, you know, we always want to be, you know, very wise and safe the way we move, you know what I mean?
Of course.
Brave, cautious, and of course, there's been cycles of emotions because I have times where, because I've had times where I just knew like I've done these certain, you know, things where I'm maybe doing a supplement or herb or something, and I'm thinking that I'm going to be healed. And, you know, like
Right.
I go get some results and the numbers aren't good, so I'm like, man, so I got to then battle in my mind, like, okay, Allah, what's next, you know? And so, of course, my wife, you know, she's there to counsel me and help me, and I'm like, hey, I don't know what to do next. You know what I'm saying? What's my
Right.
next step? You know, so it's always a constant times where we're communicating. And then there are periods where we don't even talk about it. Like it's
Right.
not like a daily conversation that we have. You know, it's just there are certain time periods where it's more discussed than others. Like if I'm ever sick or something, hey, you know, what's your what's your white blood cell count? What's your viral load? And this and that. But there are periods of time where we don't even consider it. You know what I mean? Like we don't really think about it on the forefront of our minds.
Right.
But I think for the most part, I think for me, sharing my story, I believe has helped me. I think it's made me stronger. You know, I think for my wife as well, because, you know, people have been able to now see a different side of her. You know what I mean?
Right.
Getting to know her just by her love that she has for me and her love that she has for the children, not saying, you know what, let me judge your brother because he not saying that everybody that's in a, you know, relationship with someone with HIV, if they don't accept them, they're judging them. But
Right.
let me learn more about him. Let me learn more about this virus, this and that. And then you know, she's also standing up for truth. You know, like when I post a story or post a not story, I post a post about the disease, and somebody comes up and they're talking from a woman's perspective, then she can now communicate with that sister from a woman's perspective that,
Right.
oh well, I didn't, you know, I didn't accept this basically ignorantly. You know, I mean, this is something that I had education on, that he educated me on, and I also had education on myself. You know what I'm saying? Like this was
Right.
something that, you know, I chose to do. So I think for her is allowed her to grow as well, because now she can communicate with other women from her perspective of not having it, and then how she feels about, okay, what are the risks? What risks am I taking by now being with this brother, being
Right.
married with them? Because like me and her talk about, there is some risk. There is a risk, especially if the person not taking care of themselves. Of course, if the person is taking care of themselves, then the risk is much lower.
Right.
But it's just has people have to move wisely. So I think these are just different things. But I think for the most part, it's helped my marriage in a sense, because I think for me to be able to share my story is allow me to express myself more, not just on social media, but even with her. You know.
I love that. It's almost like you guys have a collective like challenge together to kind of like defeat in a way, right? So it's like camaraderie in a sense.
And it's hard because it's like, we strive our best to eat the way we were taught to eat, how to
Right,
eat
right, right.
from the day. And it's like, man, if I eat this cookie, is it going to have what is it going to do to my blood cells? So it's like,
Right.
I have a brother, I don't think he'll mind me mentioning him, brother, Dr. Keelan. He's like, brother, most men your age are already battling so many things, 31 years young.
Right.
He said, so you can't just be on how to eat to live. You got to be on how to eat to live 100% and then some. Like, you
Right,
got to
right,
be
right.
superhuman when it comes to battling this disease. So you can't be, he's like, of course you're human. He's like, but you can't be slacking, eating no potatoes, this and that. I'm like, yeah, I know, brother. I'm trying. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But every now and then, we do have, but the beauty of my wife though, too, is that we don't just go buy junk food. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not saying we don't at all, but cooks, she bakes home cookies, home cooked cookies and home cooked
Right.
cinnamon rolls. So we're not just eating white sugar. We're not eating high fructose corn syrup. We're not eating all the processed chemicals that they're adding inside of the sweet. So it's like the messenger say, you can eat a little sweets here and there. You know what I mean? Just make sure it's baked the proper way.
Right, right,
So it's
right.
like, for me, those are my challenges. It's like, all right, like I'm trying to be as disciplined as I can. But man, I cookie calling my name, so it's just those. I mean, these are just real,
Yes,
challenges that's like, well, is this something that I should be doing? I got to get more discipline on staying away from these things, because that could also have an impact on my life. And I say that because that's even though that's her health, that's rated in our marriage, because
right.
when you're married, you're not just looking on your own health. You're like, okay, how's my wife's health?
For sure.
How's his health? How's my husband's health? If you're a wife,
Right.
how's my children's health? It ain't just, oh, I'm eating this. It's no, you got to look out for each other, because if that
Right.
other person gets sick, if I get sick and I'm eating carelessly, then my wife going to have to take care of me. Now I'm if I get sick, now I'm ill with some kind of condition, and it may not be fair to her because I'm not taking care of myself. You see, so I
Right.
got to be conscious of not just for my own health, but for her spiritual and mental, emotional, physical well being as well. So that way I don't be somewhere, later on in years, something that could have been avoided because of the way I was eating. So these are all just different things that we think about in our marriage.
For sure. For sure. For sure. So you kind of answered like a little bit of the next question that I was gonna ask, but I don't know. Maybe you could share a little bit more. Sorry, one second. Sorry about that.
No, there's no worries.
Okay, so the next question I was going to ask was in terms of marriage, right? But like, how is being married? Like, how does being married, not only just married to like any woman, but being married to like an MGT, like who is in her class and on her training, like how has that impacted like your and like I said, you touched on it a bit, but can you maybe speak to it a little bit more?
Crazy pans flying all over the kitchen. I'm just No, I mean, it's a blessing because, one thing I think of is that I feel like as a man, anyone I feel like carries a certain level of stress. I know for me as a, young man in America, we deal with a certain lot of stress already. You see what I'm saying? And then I have this extra baggage, you know what I mean, that I'm dealing with. So
Right,
when I come home and now I'm coming home to my heaven, you know what I mean? And I'm not worried, like the conversations we're having, they're not low conversation. You know what I'm saying? Even the disagreements that we may have, they're not ignorant or or worldly disagreements. You know what I'm saying? And so I
right,
think for my wife, one thing about my wife, and I'm not just saying this because she's my wife. Like anybody that knows her will say this. She's a God, like truly a God fearing woman.
right,
Like you're gonna
right,
stand on truth. Like
Right.
if the Most High Allah's Mama said this, the minister said this, or the Quran said this, nah, babe, that's what it say right here.
Right. Right.
The
Right. Right.
minister said, I'm like, all right, yes, ma'am. She gonna stand on the truth, and then the same thing with me. If I stand on the truth, okay, all right, cool. That's what it say. You know what I
Right.
mean? And she will accept that. Like she don't go again. Not that she perfect, not that I'm perfect, but she really striving for Islam. Like she really love her class. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
she love her MGT class. Like she be at that class. And then she'd be happy. We had a good time in my class. You know what I mean? And then she's taking that and she's bringing that to the children. And
Right.
that was one of the reasons why I even accepted Islam. Was I started thinking about my future, and I'm like, man, what kind of woman do I want to raise my children? Because the
Mm.
way that I'm living right now, you see what I'm saying? I may not have the type of life that I have. I may not have the type of children that I see in my mind, because what am I attracting to myself? You see,
Right. Right.
now I knew of Islam. I said, but man, if I join the ranks, whenever I am ready to get married, at least I can try to have an MGT that is in a class that is teaching refinement of the woman.
Right.
Refinement of high civilization. You see what I'm saying? Of striving to be God's servants. And so for me, I think it's a blessing because it's like it's a trial because we're both in a world that is against truth, that is against righteousness, but it's also a blessing because when she's being steadfast, in Islam, and I'm being steadfast in Islam, people see, her example. Wow,
Right.
man, look at how look at what she's cooking. Look at what she's look at how she's communicating to the children. Look at how she's talking to her husband or
Right.
how she's dressing. So for me, I think it gives me a peace of mind because I don't have to have the same, like I have conversations with certain family members that are in relationships. And I'm like, man, the thing that they're dealing with, I've never had to deal with. And I'm like, and it's somewhat mind blowing. I'm like, man, you're going through that? Wow. And I'm like, bro, you got to come, man. I just got to come out to the mosque, man. Just come on out. You know what I mean? Because,
Right.
and I tell individuals this is not that we're perfect, but it's the life that we're striving to live, especially the women, both men and women, but the class that they have it's like literally bringing in a whole new nation. What I'm saying? Because we say no
Yep.
nation rise higher than this woman. Every human being comes to a woman.
Yes,
And so
sir.
for me, I think it's more of a peace of mind. Like I have 90% of the time, I have a home cooked meal. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
95% of the time, you know what I'm saying? And that's a blessing to have someone that, preparing food and preparing it with love. Like she ain't mad that she's cooking. She's cooking because she
Right.
wants. And she's looking in all the ingredients and
Right.
can't buy this no more. They didn't start putting this certain flavor in it, and they got this and that. And I'm like, man, we can't eat that no more either.
Right.
So it's like she whatever is that the class is that she's getting trained in a class. She's taking that and she's bringing it to bringing it to her home. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not a home is a home that is living under the guidance of God because she is now, taking the instructions that the Honorable Miss Louis Farrakhan or, whatever teaching such a captain's given. And now she's applying that to her life. And so for me, I think it gives just a peace of mind, I think, because it's like, I don't have to have, not that we're perfect, but I
Right.
don't have to have the same kind of disagreements, the same kind of arguments, the same kind of stress levels, at least not because of that. From
Right.
what people in the world are dealing with. You see what I'm saying? She loves dressing, covering herself, you know what I mean? And things like that. It's just like, you got a beautiful wife. It's like you don't want everybody looking at her. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like
Right. Right.
so that in itself could be stressful. You see? So,
True.
I think that's, and then for me, I think my wife, I think she lets me be me, like as a man. Like she don't,
Mm.
if I'm out of place, of course she'll correct me and we have conversations. But I think she like allows me to learn as a man, allows me to grow as a human being. Like she don't
Right.
like judge me from where I'm at. Like if I ever make a mistake or I ever, maybe I'm not 100% on, where I should be. She's not like, well, you doing this, doing that. She's like, allow me to continue to grow. Like the Marcus today is not the
Right.
same Marcus from 9 years ago. And Shakur today ain't the same Shakur from 10 years ago. So I love that she's continuing to develop and, love
Right.
her class. And just like I said, the main thing is that what I admire is that she loves God. Like she loves
Right.
Allah, she loves God, and she loves truth. And that's really at the end of the day, that's mainly the main thing that matters. Is someone that loves God and going to try to live that life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Big shout out to Sister Shakira doing her thing.
And my brother be like, man, it's so funny because when we were staying in North Carolina, my brother used to stay a few minutes from us, and so he would come over get a plate.
Right.
Man, your wife can cook, brother. He's like, you lucky. Every time
Right.
I
Right.
don't think he ever cooked it. And we don't eat chicken and stuff, and so a lot of times we'll have vegetarian meals, and he just be crushing. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
he always just when we talk on the phone, he said, man, when you lucky, man. One thing about your wife, man, she can throw down in that kitchen.
Praise be to Allah. No, I see her like breads that she's making, different like rolls and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, she's on point. She's on point. There's Sister Shakira right there. Assalamu alaikum, sis.
She
Okay.
love them children too. Like she is. I mean, like I said, she homeschooling. So
Right, 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 right,
if she didn't go to school to she doesn't have a major in schooling or
right.
education. I know she would rather be doing something else, but she's like, look, we not same with me. We not sending them to no public school.
Yeah,
So she's like that is for her. God and family is like priority. Like she makes sure I'm good and them children
right,
are. That's why I'm like to them, like I better honor your mother to the top of the line because that
right.
stand on top of the world for y'all. So all praise due to Allah for
Trust
that
me.
too.
Trust me. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so as you were speaking about your story, you're kind of speaking about like different like time periods, so to speak. And like you speak about, okay, you're really healthy, like you're on point, you're trying to be as disciplined as possible on your how to eat to live and whatnot. Um, can you speak about like, were you always that health conscious? Were you always like really trying to like heal? And if so, like what changed in you being like not so disciplined and then getting on to like, okay, you're really trying to heal out here?
I would say yes and no. So when I was a child, when you're young and before the world has painted you with all this crazy stuff, garbage.
Right.
For me, God was in me. Like at a young age, I remember like, oh, I can't do that. Allah watching me. I can't eat
Right.
that. My mom told me not to eat that. So as a young child, it was like certain things I knew I'm not supposed to eat. But it's like as I got older,
Right.
man, let me go just try this one time. What's so bad about this? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But then I could see the effects that it was having. I like basically in my teenage years, I'll probably say 14, 15 through
Right.
17 or 18 or so, a good 4 or 5 year period of not thinking so much of healing. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Thinking more so of pleasure, what things taste like. You see what I'm saying? And not really thinking about the consequences of things because I'm thinking, oh, I got a lot of time. I'm young. I can experiment. I can taste this. I can eat that. Not
Right.
like nothing like pork. Like ain't never nothing go digger. But we'll talk about like just junk food. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm like trying to get them cookies. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Right.
Like I wasn't even thinking about like I was thinking about health. Like I wasn't just like eating like garbage daily, but it was like it wasn't so much of a pressing concern as it is now.
Right.
So I think for me, it was more so coming back into my own studying the teachings and reading How to Eat to Live, where it really like, oh my God, you really got to be cautious of what you put in your mouth
Right.
because, the Most High Muhammad and the minister broke it down even more of how the brain and the stomach operate the same.
Right.
So what you feed the stomach operates, it creates a certain chemical reaction on your brain.
Right.
So it can cause you to think a certain way. And the way
Absolutely.
you think can cause your stomach to react a certain way. And
Right.
so you are what you eat. So if you're not eating the appropriate foods, it can have a direct impact on your thinking level. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why today we can't just eat right. Also, we got to think the right foods because now we're
Right.
feeding our brain and thought. Mind is over matter. You see what I'm saying? But you can't just think right and then eat wrong. So it has to
Right.
be a balance. And so for me, and my mother, my parents instilled a certain foundation in me as a young child. And I think when I started studying how to eat to live and the teachings more and just becoming more health awareness, then yes, that's it. Then it strengthened that foundation even more. And the fact that, because I used to feel like, man, 100 years or 80 years is no time at all for people to be living.
Right.
And before I had read how to live, I used to feel like, man, I feel like I can live 500 years or 800 years or so. I used to
Right.
think these things, and I used to think that I was just living in some fantasy world. And it
Right.
wasn't until I read How to Live, where I think I don't know if it's book 1 or book 2, but in the first chapter, he talks about how it's true that Methuselah and Noah lived over 900 years old, and how we used to live longer because of the way that we ate and the healthier we ate and the less that we ate, we could live a longer life.
Right.
Man, he gives the example of eating 1 meal a day and fasting 1 meal every 3 days. You could live a life up to 120 to 140 years old. And
Right.
then every other day will give you 250 to I think 400 some years. And then eating 1 meal every 3 days of right foods, of course, which he talks about in those books, will
Right.
give you a life of 1,000 years. And I brought these to certain people and they say, "Oh no, that's in the hereafter." I was in here, and if you go back and read it, no, this is if you do this today.
Today.
Because
Right.
the individuals have to understand there will be no fasting in the hereafter.
Right. Right.
Law will be 1 meal a day, but 1 meal a day is not even considered a fast. 1 meal a day is the dietary law. When you fast, then you're going outside of the 1 meal a day. Then that's fasting. But there's no need to fast when you're in the presence of God because God is going to be the light. And so it's
Right.
like the food then that we're gonna be eating ain't gonna be the GMO and the half, the carrot with 40% of the nutritional value. Like we're gonna be eating a carrot or whatever the vegetable we call it in. That
Right.
thing will be the right thing. You see what I'm saying? And so
Absolutely.
the food that we have then we won't need to be going on a 20 or 30-day fast because everybody's going to be here. Because one of the reasons to fast is not just for health, but also for spiritual advancement.
Right.
And so for me, it was just coming back, studying these things and was like, and then now starting to believe I was going to be healed. It was like, okay, well, I want to be healed. I need to start taking the right actions, you see. And so, like I said, as a teenager, I had my times of eating junk food. Not that I don't want to say I eat junk food. I do eat snacks, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I strive to eat them in the way that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad prescribed to
Right.
us. You know what I mean? So again, like I said, not perfect, but
Right.
if I were to grade myself, I think I might get a B. I'm not an A yet. I'm not an A student yet, but I'll give
Right.
myself.
Right. Right. But we're striving. We're all striving, right?
And then even the spirituality, I think that's a big thing with health as well, like prayer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Prayer, exercise, and meditating. Like I was always kind of big on exercising
Right.
and even prayer. Like, but then I think as I grew older, I intensified the level of praying. You know what I mean? Because prayer improves the quality of your faith. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And just exercising and things like that because there's so many benefits of exercise. So just all these different things. Again, I'm
Right.
learning how to balance all these things out to where I can then have a perfect schedule to then take care of my health.
Of course. Of course. Okay. Okay, so can you speak on, okay, you mentioned obviously how to eat to live and the different levels, like okay, one meal a day, one meal every other day. Like what is your, if you don't mind sharing, like what is your current like regimen in like maintaining your health? Of course, keeping in mind that you're striving, you're not perfect. You eat Shakira's cookies, like, the baked goods,
They
but
call it, when you make them cinnamon rolls, they call them the mall. They call them crack rolls.
right, right, right. But like what does your discipline look like today for you, like in terms of the eating part of it?
Well, I strive to eat 1 meal a day. I do
Right.
strive to eat 1 meal a day. If there are days that I'm not feeling well, like if I'm under the weather, which is not very often, like I would have to be basically very, I won't say very sick, like I'm in the hospital, but like I'm not feeling good at all for me to eat for me to eat 2 meals a day. Like for
Right.
me to eat like a breakfast or lunch or something, it's because I'm really not just feeling good. I need some
Right.
energy. You see what I'm saying? But most of the time, I am doing 1 meal a day. And typically we try to eat between like 5 or 6 or so. And then afterwards, after I'm done dinner, depending on if my wife cooks some, goods or something, we may have a snack. And we don't even like when I say that, it's not like she's baking daily on food. Like we may
Right.
have,
Right.
some home cooked bakery stuff, twice a week, maybe 2-3 times every couple of weeks, because it might be 1 week where she may not do that. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Right.
I am trying to get away from the one thing and I'm straightforward. I have to get away from the keto chips.
Yes.
But I thought I was doing something because it was keto, and the brother said, "Nah, brother." Elijah Muhammad said we shouldn't be eating a white potato, and that's made from the white potato. I said, "Dang,
Right.
man, you made a point." And so that's not. And I don't do that often, but that is something that I do as well that I have to
Right.
refrain from. But the 1 minute a day, I strive to be as consistent in that as I can.
Right.
Most meals we are eating navy beans. So just an example of our meals. So we're not eating chicken right now. We stopped eating chicken about a year ago. We were
Right.
off of it before then as well, but we went back for a little while. It's been about over a year now, and I'll do probably some lamb every 3 months or so, like a piece of lamb, just because every now and then. But most times we're doing vegetable meals, or we may do some fish. We don't really do a lot of fried foods, if any at all. So we may start our meal with some bean soup or salad, and then may have some fruit. And like the other day we had my wife made, for example, of a meal. She had made some lentil patties, and I think they were, was it asparagus? What was the vegetables? Lentil patties, rice, and then I can't think of the vegetable. I think they were, oh, squash. There was, it was like stir fried or some kind of squash. I don't know how she
Right.
made it. Maybe oven baked squash. And we had beans. You see what I'm saying? Or she may do a eggplant parmesan and a asparagus. You know what I mean? And then we'll have some soup with that, or it could be some cauliflower. You know what I mean? And some vegetables, and then rice or something like that with bean soup, and a salad or something. And so that's typically how we strive to eat. I do drink coffee. I'm a coffee drinker. I feel like my day is not right if I don't have coffee. So I drink coffee with a cream, and we just use so we used to use a cream that had flavor, but we stopped using that because we were realizing they were putting natural flavors in it, and we
Right.
just don't know what's in that. And so we just did either do half and half, or we just do the heavy cream, little cream, cane sugar, some coffee, which the
Right.
messenger talks about is permittable. I do want to do one day. I do want to start doing one meal every other day. Oh, and so right now there was a time that I was off my medicine. So the medicine, I am taking the medicine periodically right now. So what I'm doing though, because the medicine, the reason why I wasn't taking it is because, not that I'm just against it, it
Right.
was because I wanted to find a natural way to heal or maintain HIV.
Right.
Which everything, most things I did wasn't really like. I'm sure How to Live was very effective in one way, but it was still, my numbers would still kind of go up. So I thought that maybe I need some kind of supplement or herb. So there were certain things that, most things I did didn't work. There was one point, there was two instances that worked for me. It was on one time I was in Africa, and I don't know if it was the air there or the water I was drinking, because I was cooking my food there, but I was eating out a lot of the days. And for some reason, I was there for 3 weeks. My numbers just shot down.
Wow.
I don't know. It was like I came back healthier than I ever been without, I
Right.
was on any medicine. I went there, my numbers were high. I came back, they were like undetectable almost.
Wow.
So that was one instance. Another instance, I was on this natural supplement. It was a type of interferon, but it was in a tablet form. And I tried different interferon, but this one really worked. And it was like I was on it for months, and I was undetectable. I think my numbers kind of went up a couple times while I was on it, but for the main part, my numbers stayed low. When I said my numbers, talk about my viral low. So I don't have access to the supplement anymore. I don't know if they stopped making it. I just haven't been able to get in contact with the company.
Right.
But so what I've been doing is taking the medicine. I've been taking a half a pill once every 2 or 3 days.
Mm.
So the medicine that they give you is most times it's one pill a day. It used to be like 3 or 4 pills twice a day. Now
Right.
they have one pill, it's like three different medicines in one. But for me, it's strong. Like I have, like, my body aches, hot, been feeling hot sometimes, stomach hurts and headache, and
Right.
just I just don't be feeling like myself. And I'm like, this makes me feel like I'm a zombie walking around. And it's like I don't want to feel this way. And so
Right.
taking that every day is 600-700 milligram medicine. I'm not recommending, if anybody's watching it, they're positive, to do the same thing I'm doing.
Right.
May have different results than you have. So, don't jump out there. I've studied this virus. So what I started to do, because, and also the medicines do have side effects over time. They can impact your kidneys and
Mm.
your liver. Not a medical doctor, not giving anybody medical advice. This is
Right.
just, you can look this up. The antivirals do have a strong impact on your kidneys per se, and sometimes your liver.
Right.
And so for me to prevent that, but when I was off medicine, my numbers started kind of climbing up. So I said, all right, I got to figure out something. So I started breaking the tablet in half and started taking it once every 2 or 3 days. And I was having the same result as if I was taking it every day. And I was like, well, ain't no need, because I was like, why are they giving? I started thinking like this. Well, when you dose an animal, you dose the animal based off the size. Like if they give an
Right.
elephant a shot, they're not going to give the elephant the same shot as a zebra or a kangaroo.
Right.
So why are human beings given the same dose, and somebody's 150 pounds, the other person's 280, and they're giving them the same dose?
Right. Right. Right.
Could it be maybe that my dosage level doesn't need to be as high as somebody else's? So I just started thinking, and this, oh Allah, show me the way. So I broke it in half, and I went and got my test results after doing this for like a month, and I was undetectable.
Right.
So then I knew that what I was doing was working. So that's what I'm doing now, until I get to a point to where I can figure out a diet. Not a diet. I know our diet, how to live, but I'm talking about something I could add to it, like whether it's a
Right.
herb or something that some fruit, healthy fruit or something that
Right.
could maintain this disease naturally or get rid of it. So that's just a little bit of my diet. I haven't been doing once a month in the Nation of Islam family. Also, we have a unity fast.
Right.
We every first Thursday of the month we fast for 40 hours to 72. The 72 hours, 3 days is the standard, but it could
Mm.
also be 48. I haven't been doing the 3 days, but most times what I've been doing is doing a 48 hour because my body, I'm just building up my energy level, and my
Okay.
white blood cell count's kind of been low lately, so I've been trying to build that up before I can go back to the 3 day fast.
Right. Right. Right.
But long term goal, I do want to get to the every other day though. That's my with the food.
Got it. Got it. Got it. And yes, the Unity Fast. The Unity Fast is coming up this week, inshallah.
Big yes, and I've been preparing
Um,
my mind to get ready. So
Right. So, could you explain maybe like, not maybe, but can you explain the scientific part of it in terms of like even like why you can't fast, or why it's difficult for you to fast, and also like what does healing look like for some, like when you say like you want to be healed and you're healing, like what does that look like? Does it look like constantly looking at your levels? Does it look like trying to maintain a certain level for a prolonged period of time? Like what exactly does that look like?
okay, so the well, fasting, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, is a key to 90% of our ills, right? And he said it in a How to Live, and I'm paraphrasing that, fasting is more greater than all the medicines in the world, all the prescription medicines in the world. If they were combined in one bottle, fasting would be greater than that. So fasting does have great healing powers, but it also has to be done properly. And so the Most High Elijah Muhammad does say that if one is sick, that they, shouldn't fast. So, but for me, I think that my sickness is different. I'm not saying that I shouldn't fast. I think that I can, but I think that it also has to be looked at. What are my numbers like, and how I'm feeling personally?
Right, right, right.
Because if my vital super high, my white blood cells count is low, and my energy is weak, then I may not necessarily be able to fast. But if I'm maintaining to the point to where things are good, then my body is an appropriate time to fast. Because too much of anything can harm you. Too much food can harm you. Fasting too much will harm you as well.
Right.
So things have to be done. But the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said also use the best of intelligence. You see what I'm saying?
Of course.
So for me, I think fasting is going to be a strong part of my journey in healing, but I have to make sure when I do it the appropriate way. So that's basically the science, because basically fasting eliminates the toxins out of your bloodstream, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said all foods, even the best of foods, have some form of toxins in it, because even the fruits and vegetables have germs in it. And
Right.
toxins is an enemy to the cell. Germs is an enemy to the body. And so every time we're intaking food, it has toxins in it. So when we're fasting, we're now not only just giving our stomach a break, but we're also purifying the blood. But food gives you energy. So if you don't have the appropriate energy to fast, then you got to make sure your body is built up with the appropriate nutrients. And that's why before you fast and when you break your fast, you shouldn't just eat any meal. We shouldn't be eating no fried chicken and collard greens and just all before a fast, and then we break into something heavy. We should be eating the best of foods to build up the nutrient level, so that way our bodies can have. Because what happens is once your body digests that food, if it's the right food, your cells will still have some nutrients inside of them to be
Right.
able to give your body energy. So the energy doesn't necessarily sit in your stomach. The stomach breaks down the food, and then the food disperses throughout your body.
Right.
But you got to build your body up with the appropriate nutrients. So for me, I have to just make sure when I fast, I'm one having the appropriate nutrients. I'm feeling good, because of course you got a cold. You shouldn't fast while you got the cold. You
Right.
fast to prevent the cold from even occurring. You see, but if one got a cold or flu or COVID or something, they shouldn't be fasting. They need to wait until. I mean, you can fast from certain things, of course, like you
Right.
fast from meat and stuff like that, but you shouldn't just have no food.
For sure.
But then we fast to prevent the illnesses. But he also said that with certain chronic illnesses, he didn't name the one. So I wonder if HIV is one of them. He said that eating every other day, which is a form of fasting, will heal certain chronic diseases. And after a couple of years, you may be healed from a certain chronic. So I don't know what chronic diseases those are, but
Right.
chronic diseases are long-term diseases. And so for me, I do believe that HIV, I don't know if it'll just be fasting. It could be fasting coupled with um, something else, you see.
Right.
Maybe it's like I said, it could be a herb, or it could be super fruit somewhere out here, or maybe there
Right.
is something that I have to combine together, some natural chemical coming from the earth that has to be put into the cell.
Right.
But I do think fasting will be a part of my journey. So I hope, does that answer the question in a
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, yeah. No, it does. It definitely answers the question. I get that. But could you, so in terms of the healing part, like what what basically what
Oh,
is
that
your,
part. Yeah, I didn't
yeah, what
answer.
is your goal with healing? Because as the world says it, right? Like the world says you can't cure this.
Mhm.
But the world also says you have to be taking a whole bunch of pills every day and etc. And you're obviously not, and you're obviously alive right now, right? So what does healing, when you say it, what does that look like for you? Like what would that entail for your life?
I think healing, when I use this thing healing, I used to think healing is completely free of HIV or whatever that person is dealing with. They've now are free from it. And I still think that to this day. Like,
Right.
I want to get to the point where HIV is not in my system.
Right.
Or maybe it's there, but I've mastered suppressing it to the point to where it doesn't even affect me at all.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
Right.
one aspect of healing. But healing also, it comes spiritually. Being able to, I think, fight something daily is a form of healing. Being able to accept something, not being like, and like when I share some of the videos and my story, not saying being happy about it, right?
Right.
But being happy with your life. You see what I'm saying? Looking at all the other blessings that Allah, God, has blessed you with. That is a form of healing.
Right.
Because in the Quran, Allah loves, he talks about how he loves the gratitude. He hates ingratitude, right? And in the Bible, it talks about healing and Jesus making one whole, right? And how Jesus was able to heal the leprous. Now, at that time, the leprous was, and I kind of compare, it took me years to figure this out, but I kind of compare lepers to HIV. You said,
Mm,
well, how is that? Lepers was a skin disease, right?
right.
Let's think about it like this. Lepers at that point was incurable,
Right.
right? It also was the disease that people feared of getting, where if you saw someone with leper, you didn't want to get near them at all. Now,
Right.
HIV and AIDS is one of them diseases that somebody have. It's like, I don't want to be with them. I don't even want to be, especially when it first was coming out. I don't even want to be near anybody with HIV. It was like that disgusting disease because of the miseducation or the misunderstanding individuals had of it. You see what I'm saying? It also was a death sentence attached to it. Individual lepers didn't live really a healthy life, and if you healthy life, and so if somebody was to touch them, they would end up getting a lepers. But Jesus did away with that, and so my mind is that if I accept the true Jesus Christ, right,
Right.
God's healing, then over time, God may do away with my ailments or other people's ailments as well.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that one day God is going to just, I mean, not that one day. One day He will do away with it, but it doesn't mean that He's just going to come out of a cloud and just you're cured.
Right.
It's a process that may have to be done. It's a regimen that may have to be followed. So I think healing, one, comes first in the mindset of one striving to be grateful for your life, and also maybe the thing that you had to endure that allowed you to be stronger. Healing can also come from sharing your story, or maybe if you don't share your story, not everybody's going to share their story,
Right.
but it could be helping somebody else. You
Right.
see, now because you went through a certain difficulty factor, you can now help somebody else that's dealing with it, and because you're helping them, you may be able to heal and help them. So that's healing in that as well. And I think just constantly, God growing somebody. Like, I know for me, if I was healed in 1 month or so, right, from when I first shared my story, I may have not been able to develop into the person I am today. So I think healing comes from just over time of enduring a certain pain level and being able to learn different tactics of things you can do, whether that's prayer, exercise, and eating 1 meal a day. These are certain things that can amplify your healing. You see what I'm saying? And so, but yeah, of course, the long term goal is, yes, to be completely healed of it and free to where it doesn't show up in my system at all, doesn't affect me at all. You know what I'm saying? But the healing starts today, and in our lessons we're taught, sit yourself in heaven at once.
Right.
Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the hereafter for my followers are now, and if we're following, the honorable mentors for our we're listening to him, we're studying the stuff for study guides, we're eating right, then that is a healing in that, and more than just the body, but in the mind, in your life, finances, emotions, all these different things. So for me, healing is more than just being healed, but it's a spiritual healing, and a healing of your life, of taking acceptance of, because for me, it's a duty that God put on me that I have to overcome.
Right. Right. Right.
I
Right.
hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. It does. It does. It really does. And I think it's like, and you said it in other words, it's like accepting things for what they are, right? As a
Yes.
Muslim, we submit our will to do the will of Allah, right? And
Yes,
if
ma'am.
this is the will of Allah, this is the will of Allah. You can either deal with it and be like, oh my gosh, this sucks, this is da 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 da, or you could be like, wow, I'm grateful for all of the other blessings that I have, and I'm alive, and right.
That's
So
real. Yes, ma'am.
it's your perspective. And I can bear witness, man, to that whole even the leopard, the idea of that, because I had my own healing journey a few years ago, and where I thought I was gonna die, and
Wow.
I accepted it for a little bit, and I feel like I know that Allah put me in that situation for a reason, and made me go through that and overcome that for a reason, because I did so much like studying of myself, of my body,
Mhm.
of, and it sounds like you have too, like in understanding your condition, and in understanding that, it made me see people different. Like it made me see, okay, yeah, we are gods. Like it made me see that and understand that on a whole new level. And like researching people who have overcome like these things, these ailments and diseases that the worldly doctors would say, yeah, there's no cure for that.
Wow.
Like reversing stage 4 cancer, and like you're gonna be paralyzed for life, and reverse that. And a huge part of it, and this is gonna bring us into like my second to last final question. What kept on coming up to me was the mindset, and how you view your illness, and how you view your life. And that seemed to be like a common thread in these people that I was studying. And I tried to, well, I did, like I adopted that myself in creating like a positive mindset, and creating a viewpoint that is very inclined to look at what is great, and what is working, and what is positive, rather than the thing that might not be so pleasant, right? So can you speak about like mindset, how that plays into your life, and how you practice using a positive mindset?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Well, well, first of all, thank you for sharing that journey with me. Your journey is, we all are on a journey, and like you say, it's for a reason.
Right.
Your journey made me think of the minister's experience where he thought that he may have died, and he said that he didn't ask Allah to spare him. He just thanked Allah for his life. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was just like, wow. And I heard that, I was like, man, if I was in that situation, what would I do? And at the time I was like, I would probably like, oh, Allah, save me. You know what I'm saying? But it was just real that, I'm grateful for the life that you have given me. If this is your will, I accept it.
Right.
And, go great into mindset is just, I think, when people are going through things, it's really challenging depending on what the person is enduring for them to, if they're not really a God fearing person or really understand God, it's like, not saying that I do, but if we're not staying prayed up and staying studying, then it's real easy to misunderstand what God may be trying to show you. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Even things that occur to us that may seem unfair, you see. And so for me, it was like, I always thought that it was bigger than me. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, okay, well, what if God uses me? Even if he doesn't, well, what if he uses me to help heal somebody else, right? Then if I didn't experience what I had experienced, then I may have not been able to fulfill the role that God had in his mind for me to do. So sometimes God allows us to go through pain. So that's my mindset, because I understand that our minds are powerful, right? Our brain is powerful to the point to where we can have an impact on our universe, on the universe that is around us. Like a lot of the things that we are experiencing is because it's either something that we've drawn to us by the way we think or the thing that we have done, right? We say, oh, well, I thought Almighty God was Allah, the best planner. He's the one that causes all things to happen. Yes. In the honorable Mitzvahs Farrakhan said Allah has two wills.
Right.
There's an active will and a passive will, right? And or permissive will. One of them he is actively enrolled in making happen, and the other one he allows to happen. So there are some things that may be unfortunate to us, misfortunes, right? Misfortunes. However, that Allah will allow you to go through because He sees on the other side what has to be done, and we have to go through it. And so, for me, learning about things like slavery, learn about things that just seem like injustices to our people. And I'm like, man, and learn about all these individuals on the face of the planet Earth that have went through things that just seem traumatic or very challenging, and what some people may say negative. So I say, if they had to go through that, what makes me think that I won't have to endure some kind of suffering?
Right.
So the mindset is like, you have some people say 90% of the battle, some say 50% of the battle. I don't know the percentage, but
Right.
it's the main part of the battle is the mind. What are you thinking when you first get up through the day and when you go to bed? And just like the other day, I was driving and I had a blowout on. Actually, it was crazy. I had a blowout on my wife's truck. And then like 3 weeks later, I blow out on my car. I'm like, I
Wow.
ain't never had a blowout a day in my life. How in 3 weeks did I have? But the moment it happened, when I pulled my car, I said, all praises due to Allah for allowing me to be safe. I wasn't,
Right.
oh my God, my car blew out, man. What's going on? I'm like, I'm in the middle somewhere. I asked his brother, hey, y'all got a jack, because I had my stuff, but I didn't have my jack on me. And but I thank Allah I wasn't happy about the jack. I wasn't happy about the blowout, but I thank
Right.
Allah for allowing me to pull over safely on the road
Right.
both times and allowing me to change my tire and get a spare on it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think for the mindset is so powerful, because it's not that Allah just thinks that we won't have any kind of emotion, that you shouldn't be sad about anything. Like, I'm not saying that I don't have my moments of sadness, but a Muslim is one that doesn't remain in grief. He doesn't remain disappointed.
Right.
I was thinking about this Quran scripture and how Satan, right? He wants to make us, like he says, he's going to come before us, behind us, from
Right.
our right and from our left. And then he said, I will, I haven't read it in a couple of days, but he said, I will have them remain disappointed. You will find most of them ungrateful, and they will be following their lower desires.
Right.
So he tells us everything he's going to do. So now we got to look for, okay, well, if I'm ungrateful,
Right.
Satan can creep up in me. If I'm disappointed, Satan can come in me. If I'm worshiping my lower desires, I'm taking he said you will find most of them taking your lower desires for God besides thee, right?
Right.
If I'm going to my lower desires, then now Satan could come up in me. And so the mindset is everything. Like, you can have, like, you can look over in Palestine, right?
Right.
And what's going on over there, and you have people over there doing prayer. I'm like,
Right.
man, when we going through what we're going through, are we still gonna say, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness Muhammad is man. I seek refuge in Allah from Satan and curse. And then
Right.
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. I bear witness there is no God but Allah. Are we still gonna be saying that? Thank you, Allah. Even though my life is like my house got a hole in the roof. Thank you for that life. And so that we may not see the blessing in that, but the blessing is going to come because the mind is so powerful. Like, the mind literally has a direct impact. The minister said that the universe is like a large, memory gland.
Right.
That if you just pull on it like a baby pulls on a breast for milk,
Right.
first couple of times the milk don't come out, right?
Right.
We got to keep pulling, and so we got to continue to pull. It don't mean the first time we ask God something, or we think something in our brain is going to happen. But the mindset that you continue to think that thought, and then now you follow the thought with action,
Right.
God will eventually amplify your blessings. So for me, I think the mindset is half the battle. Of course, you can't just visualize all day. You got to go out and do the work of what you see in your
For
mind.
sure.
Yeah, the mindset is powerful. And then also, your thoughts have a direct impact on your body. The minister talked about
Right.
burden, stress, and assuming things, and negative thought, and all these things have a impact. So we're thinking thoughts of gratitude and love and peace, right? Serenity and calmness of mind, and all these different things. Healthy, higher thoughts.
Right.
It's like God and devil. You got negative thoughts, you got positive thoughts. You're thinking of positive thoughts, it's going to have a different impact on your body, on your cells, on the cellular level. So that's just a little bit about mindset. I hope that answered.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, I just want to be mindful of your time. And sorry, let me pull up my questions. Yeah, so you kind of answered the next question that I was gonna ask, which was just, and I don't know if you want to say anything on it, but it was just basically I was asking about how you felt like your submission to Allah impacts your healing, and I feel like you said it all, because by submitting to Allah, you're eating a certain way, you're thinking a certain way, you're even in the way how you operate with your family, and your family function is in a certain on a certain trajectory because of your submission to Allah, right? So I don't know if you want to speak to that at all.
Yep. A little. I want to. What I want to say is, and I'll be quick. I know I get a little long with it.
Yeah, yeah.
But the for other individuals that are listening to this, whatever you're enduring, strive your best to make a study guide. If you don't have the study guides, I would recommend getting them. But if you do have them, go look at strengthening your relationship with Rabbi Alameen, and Allah is the center of everything, right? Make Allah the center of everything, and so if we make Allah the center of our life, right, everything is secondary compared to Allah, then Allah will bless us with all the blessings that we need. May
Right,
not be everything that we want, but we need. And so for me, I think it's just not that I'm saying I'm perfectly in submission. I'm learning. I want to learn how to submit even better than where I'm at today. The markers I am today, tomorrow, inshallah, I want to be better.
right,
But I truly believe by feeding on a source in the mind of Allah, and striving to live the life like the Honorable Minister Farrakhan has lived, right? Like the prophets and the messengers of the past had lived, right?
right,
If I don't have to know everything, but if I'm leaning on him and I'm striving to be a good man, right? Or somebody's striving to be a good woman, I'm praying and I'm eating right, then I believe Allah will heal me. And even if it's not over time, he will heal me by me leaning on him,
right,
because through the blood of the Lamb, through the blood of the Christ, our wounds were healed, right?
right,
And so the blood is the life that he lived. We adopted that lifestyle the same way that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad or the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has lived, and now we become healed. So we may still be having affliction on us, but we are overcoming it so much it seems as if we don't. You see,
right,
and so that's basically I wanted to say that for those that are watching, just strive your best and make Allah a priority in everything. You know what I mean, and pray. You know what I mean, and all the five pillars. Like, don't neglect one of them. Strive
right,
your best to let me pray. Let me believe. Let me believe in Allah. Let me fast. Let me give in charity. Let me do good deeds. You know what I mean. Let me make my pilgrimage. You know what I mean. And
right,
all these things, if you're doing, I believe over time, and then also being patient, because we don't know how long this journey is going to be.
right.
From one thing that I had to learn, that I'm learning today, is being patient, in myself and Allah, to know, because Allah says, "Blessed are those that are patient." He blesses those that are patient, and He's with the patient.
Absolutely.
Just that's on patience, and just gratitude is one of the main things.
Right, right, right. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And something came to mind when you said, like, you're saying, like, sit yourself in heaven at once, right? And that's in our lessons, right? Where we're told to sit ourselves in heaven at once. And sometimes heaven, not sometimes, but we're taught heaven is a condition, right? Heaven is a condition of the mind, it's a condition of the heart. And two people can be in the same situation and one can be in heaven at once because they changed their mind, because
Exactly.
in their mind they've elevated to that space and time of being in heaven. Whereas, if you're not thinking like that, you're not going to be in heaven at once. But we have the capacity and the capability to do that. So thank you for making that clear to me.
Yeah, that's real, because your immediate surroundings may seem like, you know, hell, but
Right,
if your mind is sitting on a throne of God, or if God is in a throne of your mind,
right,
then you're in heaven, because
right,
you're not looking at what's around you, even though you got to change your environment that's around you. But it
right.
starts here first, you see. And a
Absolutely.
lot of individuals, what I had to learn is, we think garden means, or heaven is just no problems at all. We sitting on raised couches. We got gold. We wealthy. We just living a life.
Right.
But if you look up garden, weeds still grow inside of a garden.
True.
So garden and hereafter, we talk about the hereafter, the garden and the heaven and all that.
Right.
Hereafter is now. The garden is now. And the Quran talks about there are two gardens.
Right.
One in this life, and then the one in the life that after this, the wickedness have ruled.
Right.
But the garden in this life, mean there's weeds may come, so problems may come, but we gotta pluck the weeds. We gotta go in there and dig. So we still may have problems, but it's not that the problems won't occur. The
Right.
challenge of the pain is, how do we endure and how do we solve them? And so that's
Absolutely.
what I'm learning as well. I'm not saying I've mastered that as well, but that's what I'm learning, is that you can be in a garden. A garden don't mean that you're not gonna have any problems, any pain.
Right.
And still gonna, in the hereafter, we still gonna have problems, but we're
Right.
gonna be solving problems on a higher level. See what I'm saying?
Right.
And we
Right.
need
Right.
the Satan's rule problems on that. We're going to have problems on a higher level. You see,
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great way to end it off. I appreciate your time. This was a great interview.
all
As
praises to Allah.
Sister Gianni said, powerful interview. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for those of you who were watching and listening and, sharing your feedback. May Allah bless you all for the rest of your day and beyond. Thank you for watching and peace until next time.
Peace, peace, family. Thank you so much.